After so many days of races, fiascos, collisions, and what have you, we are finally here at the finals of the 5th Custom Mail-In Tournament. 8 racers left, and one of them is about to be crowned champion. The first group of the 2 to run has Lincoln Parker, Ed Eddie, Amy D, and Evo Killer representing Blue Line Racing, the current defending long-running champion of these Races and Fun tournaments. And so far they do have the lead, but it's not by much. Lincoln Parker is hot on their tail. In fact, so is everybody else. It looks like they will be the first one to get to the jump. Pretty clean landing. As they get to the lane merger, they almost fly off the track. Their back end went airborne, but they managed to save it, and they stopped Lincoln Parker from passing them. So Evo Killer gets the first win of these Ultimate Finals. A very close call to be sure. MED, however, was not so fortunate as they did not cross the finish line. You can kind of see some of these racers kind of bouncing off the ceiling of the ramp as they started to get down. And Evo Killer saw Lincoln Parker coming, and they managed to block them before they could get there. And they finished with 11:37. So far, the fastest time is still held by N-Count, who at one point finished with a 10.77. There have been some very close calls. In fact, I think one of Blue Line's racers finished with 10.8 not too long ago. But now for race number 2, Evo Killer is looking to keep this streak going of winning these tournaments for Blue Line. And so far they are in the lead, and they have a good landing. Can they stay on the track? They do, but they skid a bit, causing them to slow down. And yet again, they managed to stop Lincoln Parker from passing them. Meanwhile, Ed and Eddie tried to do something similar with Amy D, but in the process, they came to a complete stop just shy of the finish line. Evo Killer right here will show you how to do it the right way, just keeping them from passing, but then Ed and Eddie, they tried a little too hard, and it ended up costing them some points, and quite possibly their time in this tournament. Evo Killer is now one race away from making it to the last group of racers in this tournament, thus increasing the odds that Blue Line will win another consecutive tournament. But here we go, Evo Killer once again out in the lead. But this is very familiar. Everyone else is not too far behind. They start spinning the other way, heading in reverse now, and Lincoln Parker ends up on their side. Ed and Eddie almost gets them back on their feet, but they decide to end up finishing in second, which may be the break they need. Amy D still is not able to finish. But Lincoln Parker a couple times looked like they might have been able to save it, even getting some help from Ed and Eddie as they passed through. But it was not enough, and they ended up on their side, just looking at the finish line from a distance. But with 3 consecutive wins, Evo Killer is already on their way to the last round of this tournament. So Blue Line will have at least one vehicle there. But now with a non-finish, Ed and Eddie is only 1 point behind Lincoln Parker. At this point, it could boil down to who finishes in front of the other. Amy D, unfortunately, is out at this point. But that doesn't mean they can't go out in a blaze of glory, as it were. End on a high note, or at least the highest note that you can get. For now, Evo Killer is holding on to a very slight lead. Lincoln Parker and Ed and Eddie hot on their tail. They do a full spin around, but they do hold out in first as Ed and Eddie comes up behind them. And I think because Lincoln Parker did not finish, it will be Ed and Eddie who is going to move on alongside Evo Killer. Things were looking pretty good for Lincoln Parker until they got off the ramp. At that point, they started to spin around, and they ended up going sideways, and their front end was on the rail of the track. They could not recover. Ed and Eddie saw an opportunity, took it, and now they're moving on with Evo Killer to the last round. And now for the second group, Dusty Miles, Blue Line, Slick T, and Scale Racing. Dusty Miles was the only person in this tournament for the longest time to be undefeated, but that streak ended the last time we saw them. And now they have to go up against another one of Blue Line's vehicles, who currently has the lead going into the waterfall jump, but not by a lot. And now they end up going sideways. Scale Racing passes them by a long shot, and they will be the one to grab the win. Blue Line in second, followed by Dusty and Slick T. Scale Racing saw that Blue Line was having trouble after that landing, and saw that this could be their one chance to pass them, and that's exactly what they did. So this could be a glimmer of hope for those that are looking to dethrone Blue Line, but we will have to see. Race number 2, Blue Line starts off taking the lead early, and they're trying to expand their lead as much as they can before they get to that jump, because that could make all the difference for the remainder of the track. But Scale Racing is pretty much even with them at this moment. Blue Line holding on to an ever so slight lead. Can they hold on to it? They end up going sideways again, but they manage to maintain a lot more speed this time, and they finish under 11 seconds, taking the win. Scale Racing ending up in second, Dusty Miles in third, and Slick T is not finishing. It is ever so tantalizing the closer you get to that finish line, making it ever so painful if you don't end up crossing at all. We've seen people fall short of the finish line by the slimmest of margins, but if you do not break that plane, you aren't getting any points. So no one's coming out of this with a sweep at the very least. But now that leads to Blue Line and Scale Racing tied for points. Dusty Miles, who had the undefeated title for longer than anyone else, in fact they were one of the only ones to even get it, is struggling now going up against some of the fastest racers in this tournament, even though they themselves are one of them. And here we go, Scale Racing is actually in front of Blue Line even after they get off the jump, and they actually finish in front of them with a 10.91. People are getting ever so close to breaking the speed record held by N-Count, but they so far have not been able to do it. If Blue Line usually has their vehicle come through the jump first, but in this case, by about half a length, it was Scale Racing, and they managed to maintain that lead. So because they're going back and forth for first and second place, things are looking a lot better for them. And I don't think Dusty Miles is technically out yet. But the fact of the matter is, it's just got a lot harder for them. Now for this fourth and final race for this group. 2 racers are about to be eliminated, and 2 of them will be joining the other people who have already moved on. And Blue Line manages to grab the lead. Scale Racing had an unfortunate slowdown, but I think they still managed to grab second after all that, with Slick T in third and Dusty Miles finishing in fourth. The one person who had an undefeated streak for a long time is out of the tournament. Meanwhile, Blue Line will have 2 out of the 4 vehicles in the last round under their name. And Scale Racing will be joining this one. And now it all comes down to this. The top 4 racers in the entire tournament. Blue Line, Evo Killer, who is also Blue Line, Ed Netty, and Scale Racing. These 4 races will decide it all, possibly even 3, if somebody finishes in first in the first 3 races. And so far, it is Blue Line's golden vehicle who is out in front, but here comes Evo Killer. And they get to the ramp at about the same time, and Evo Killer's trying to hold on to a lead. Scale Racing trying to knock him off to the side, could not do it. So Evo Killer will grab the win, but Scale Racing ended up in second. And Ed Netty, with a very understandable expression on the side of that vehicle, was the only one who did not finish. That is not where you want to be in the last part of the tournament. In fact, in general, that's not where you want to be at all, but especially here, when you can see victory right out of your reach. So it's looking pretty good for Evo Killer, at least so far, but Scale Racing is not making it easy for Blue Line in either case. Evo Killer and Blue Line are neck and neck as they take the lead at the beginning of the race. As they go around the turn, Scale Racing is now fighting for that lead with both of them. And it looks like they might be grabbing it as they get off the jump. Evo Killer flips upside down completely. Gets saved almost by Ed and Eddie, while Blue Line's golden vehicle finishes in first. It looks like at least a couple times in today's video alone, Ed and Eddie is trying to save people from ending up on their side or upside down. They're at least trying to help them as they pass through. So even if Ed and Eddie does not win, they can at least be acknowledged for some good sportsmanship. Unfortunately, it hasn't always worked in the end. But that definitely shakes things up quite a bit. With that non-finish, Evo Killer still only has 5 points. Scale Racing has 6. Blue Line's golden vehicle has 7. So Scale Racing is right smack dab in the middle, of both of Blue Line's vehicles. And those two are off in the distance trying to keep Scale Racing from passing them. So far, Scale Racing is only in third, but he's trying to speed up, could not quite do it. And Evo Killer is on their backs again as the golden Blue Line car takes the win once more. This is definitely a shocker. If Evo Killer was doing this earlier on in the tournament, they certainly would not be here right now. But now twice they've ended up on their backs, not finishing. So it pretty much boils down to either Scale Racing or Blue Line's golden vehicle. This could be the final race of the whole thing. Blue Line currently has the edge with their golden vehicle, Scale Racing not too far behind them. Now Scale Racing will need to finish significantly farther ahead of Blue Line in terms of position, but the chances are slim of that happening. Evo Killer, first one through the jump, but they've spun around, same with Scale. Scale Racing trying to finish in first, almost had it, but it was blocked by Evo Killer. And Blue Line, the golden vehicle, the one leading in points, ended up in fourth. I don't know if that was going to be enough. If Scale Racing finished in first, that may have told a different story. But it's going to be close. Let's see what the points say. The winner is... It is Blue Line by 1 single point. Scale Racing got very close, but Blue Line manages to edge them out and hold on to their ever-extending title. See you next tournament.